Hi everyone, this is Liz with 143 Handmade. Welcome. So this is just a tips and tricks video about how to cut out paper for the absolute beginner. You know, you get this kit, whether you've purchased it, you've been gifted it, whatever, and it has all of these things, right? You know, all these different pockets and envelopes and elements and whatnot, and even just the cutting it out that first time can be very intimidating. So one of my first tips is, okay, this was a full sheet of paper, it had a strip here and a strip here, is start with the basic shapes. And so in this case, I've got 4 elements, and I'm just going to, I just cut along that outside edge, and now I'm going to cut along here, and I'm going to leave that for now. Sometimes I might go ahead and come up here and cut off the extra, but I'm not even going to do that right now. For the very beginner basic, you don't worry about it. Just cut out your big straight lines. Don't worry about cutting out every little thing. And so you can go ahead and do little diagonals in between pieces, so that way you can get 2 straight lines at one time and have just like this one bigger strip of paper to throw away or deal with in some other way. Because the strips of paper can come in handy for all kinds of things, depending on how big it is. But, you know, you'll get more and more ideas the longer you play with paper. But, okay, so right here, as the very beginner, I would recommend just cutting a straight line out and around this. A little bit more advanced is to go ahead and cut this edge. It is a fairly simple shape, and so I would go ahead and trim it, and see, when you're coming to a point like that, go past it and then reposition your scissors, and that's how to get the best point. Don't try and turn on the point. Cut past the point. That way you can get a nice sharp tip there. Okay, and then now I'm going to flip it this way and cut this straight line. And don't worry about which way's up, which way's down, which one, you know, there's no correct orientation while you're cutting it. While you're cutting it, the correct way to hold it is however you can securely hold it and not hurt your fingers. So, there we go. And then just come in here and cut this very simple one out. Again, go ahead and cut past that tip. You can just cut that whole piece just off if that helps you. And then you come back to it with your scissors. And as far as scissors go, I would say make sure that they're decently sharp. They don't have to be super. They don't have to be like these. These are the nice $30 Fiskars. Just a good pair of sharp scissors will work. It doesn't really matter what brand. They just need to be sharp. And just in case you don't have any other tools, you can totally do all of this work with just a pair of scissors. You don't need to have punches, you don't need to have, you know, an X-Acto knife or anything like that. There is a lady on YouTube. I only saw a couple of her videos long time ago, and I've not seen her since I came back to YouTube, so I can't link to her. But she cut out all of her ephemera with using an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat. So, you know, whatever you're comfortable with is what you use. That's the right tool for the job. Is whatever is going to allow you and your hands to get it done. So, there we go. And see, that's all I would do, is I would just go through it first and cut. I would have 2 piles: rough cut stuff, exact cut stuff, and then the totally uncut stuff. So I guess it's 3 piles, but and that is how I go about cutting out these things, because that way you have, because it's a different headspace. You can cut a straight line, even as a newbie, you can cut a straight line without being super concentrated on it, right? You'll find that's true. The straight lines become second nature very quickly after you start paper crafting. And so by separating it out like that, doing a rough cut and then a fussy cut, levels. You can, you know, get the bulk of it cut out, you know, while you're chatting with your spouse, while you're, you know, watching a show, you know, something like that, and then do the exacting cutting when you have the more headspace, you know, whatever that is for you. Now, these are pockets, and again, for the absolute beginner, in case you're wondering what the heck is going on, what are these little wings coming off? Those look weird, and there's this notch on the edge. I will explain as soon as I get that cut out. So, you know, but there really is no wrong way. This is just tips and tricks that I have found over the years. Another thing is when you're cutting to an inside corner like that, come at it from both directions. Do not try and make the corner on the inside, especially on the corner of a pocket like that, because that little tuft that got left is not a big deal. It does not matter in the slightest. So, there we go. And I'm just going to cut these on out so that way I can show the newbies how this pocket works. And see, if you notice too, I am moving, make sure I'm really good in frame here. I am moving the piece, not the scissors. The scissors, you come down here all the way into the base and gently, slowly cut while you manipulate the paper with your other hand. And you can get some really nice, even rounds, you know, soft edges cut that way. And you will learn to be able to tuck your scissors in and turn a corner on the inside. And it is a learned skill though. Don't try and jump ahead. If you have a scoreboard, here's a great place to use it. Go ahead and put this on the scoreboard and score right along all three of those edges. I do not care for scoreboards. They tend to mess me up more than they help because of the way that my hands work, apparently. You know, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't give it enough chance, enough practice. I don't know. Whatever. Not my cup of tea. But they are very handy for those people who enjoy them. And so, there we go. And you fold it up like that. And see, now when you glue this down, you glue just on these flaps. Okay? And that does a couple of different things for you. One thing it does is that it gives the pocket a little bit of lift up off of the page. You can see that, how glued, you can see how there's a little bit of lift, you know, of space there. So where when you just glue it down without those flaps, you're losing that space in the pocket of where your glue line is, you know, as well as you're not getting any lift off the paper. So, you know, and both are great. Both are serve purposes and help a lot. But, you know, again, it's just about personal preference and what you prefer. So, yeah, see, here's one that, like, if you have an older kid that wants to help cut stuff out and do a project together, these long straight lines are a great place for them to practice their cutting. And it is so much easier to do the fussy cutting, the exacting cutting, you know, the fancy cutting, whatever you want to call it, once you have all this extra paper trimmed off. And so, you know, this is a great way to get your kids involved in this type of paper crafting. You know, is having them help out with the cutouts. Depending on the kid and the age, and you know, there's a lot of variables there, but it can be a great way. Like my daughter-in-law, Sierra, and her oldest daughter, Bella. I think Bella would very much enjoy doing a lot of this straight line cutting. She would probably get frustrated with some of the fussy cutting and not want to do that as much. But, you know, we all go through phases like that, right? Where we were more or less into fussy things. And so there we go. And this is also a great place to, you know, practice funny edges, you know, like let's see, I'm going to go ahead and cut fairly close to this one because I want that one to be nice and straight. And I'm going to cut close to this one because I do want that one to be nice and straight right on that edge. And so, like on this, just go ahead and practice your wonky, in this case, kind of snowy, snow drifts, you know, it's kind of what I'm thinking of as I'm wobbling the scissors around. And this helps with you learning your you know, just like a kid has to learn scissors originally, well, if you're going to paper craft, you have to learn scissors on another level too. And so it's just another fun way. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting these out. Okay, so just a quick recap for tips for new beginners. When you're cutting out a big stack of stuff, the number one tip I can give you is use sharp scissors. The second is to go ahead and cut out your big shapes first. You know, stuff like this, so that way you're getting that bulk of that paper off of there. And do what I call a rough cut, you know, something like this. And then go back and do your exacting cutting, your fussy cutting, your fancy cutting, whatever you want to call it. And then with your tickets, you can do the fold it thing and then cut each one out, or you can just cut them all out. And let's see, I think that was about it. Oh, the other big thing that I wanted to make sure to mention is that not to cut too long. When you're first learning to cut, you know, or not learning, because I mean, you know how to cut. You learned how to cut in kindergarten, right? But when you're first getting into paper crafting and whatnot, you can get excited, you know, and you just want to cut out the whole kit. That's not necessarily a good thing for your hand. You know, if you haven't been doing that for, you know, regularly for a while, cutting, it's very tiring on the hand, especially if you're using traditional scissors. See, these are spring assist scissors, so they open automatically. So all I'm doing is closing them. You know, mine are getting a little sticky. I need to clean them. But see how they do open readily? So I'm not having to pull my scissors open. I am simply closing them, you know. So that's another little tip is that if you're going to be serious about paper crafting, get yourself a spring assist pair of scissors. And keep them sharp. So thank you so much. I hope that helped some of the newbies out there. Miss Sierra, I hope you watched and that helped you feel like you could get started. And I will see you guys all again soon. Thank you so much. And I appreciate every single minute we spend together.